Gamer.
What's going on, sports gamers? Mike Straw, managing editor of Sports Gamers Online here, and we got even more information on what fans can expect from MLB The Show 20. Now, sunny San Diego, as usual, held another live stream on Thursday night that dove into all of the changes coming to Road to the Show and franchise mode in this year's game. Now, there was a lot covered in this developer stream, but if you weren't able to watch it live when it aired, don't worry about it. We got you covered. But before we get into everything, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to Sports Gamers Online, and turn on your notifications so you never miss the latest gaming content. So before getting into the big new feature in both franchise and Road to the Show, Ramon Russell was joined by Luis Martinez and Nick Livingston to go over one of the bigger new additions in quite some time to the MLB The Show series, and that's full minor league rosters. Now, Martinez said they've been trying to implement these since 2010, and Livingston added that they teamed with Ryan Rosters to get it done for this year. There's about 1,500 total prospects added to the game for day one in MLB The Show, ranging from AAA and AA rosters. Over 100 of them have gotten face scans and 3D rendering to look as accurate to life as possible. Now, with these minor league rosters, you'll be able to use them in Play Now games, Franchise Mode, March to October, Road to the Show, and even Diamond Dynasty. And yeah, in case you were wondering, Tim Tebow is part of the MLB The Show roster. So there you go. Now, moving on to the biggest feature coming to franchise this year, Matthew Schaefer joined Ramon Russell to talk about franchise custom teams. For the first time in the game's history, players are going to be able to rebrand or, in a way, relocate their teams in MLB The Show. The base had been there from Diamond Dynasty's creation suite for years, and they finally brought it over to other modes, this being franchise. Now, they talked about the two ways that you can rebrand or move your team in the mode. The first way they discussed on how to do it is during the first phase of the offseason, when you can select to rebrand your team. Now, it's completely similar to the Diamond Dynasty layout, from how the menus look to the options available. So you can choose your team's new colors, you can pick a location from a list of cities and towns, much like Diamond Dynasty, and even choose the audio that you want the broadcast to say. For logos, you get the opportunity to either create your own from scratch, or download one of the hundreds that are going to be available from day one on the Community Vault. For uniforms, it's again a one-to-one transfer from Diamond Dynasty, and this will allow you to alter everything from your caps, to your shirts, to your undershirts, to your stirrups, and more. Now, one of the biggest questions that came out when it was first announced that franchise branding and rebranding was going to be a thing in MLB The Show 20 is, what about stadiums and actual city relocation? Well, because this is the first installment and it's a base foundation for where they want to go in the future, the only stadiums available to choose from are the MLB stadiums, classic stadiums, spring training facilities, and all the minor league stadiums. That means if you want to put a team in, say, New Orleans or San Antonio, you're not really going to have a stadium that's located there. You can go ahead and choose to put Yankee Stadium in New Orleans or San Antonio, but it's going to have that same Yankee Stadium feel and look to it, and not one of your own. Now, the other method they discussed about creating a team is when you start a new franchise. You can replace every team in the league with custom teams. Now, there's no expansion, so it's just the 30-team max, but every single team can be replaced. That means you can have a league full of custom teams with custom rosters if you want. So if you want to go ahead and start a new franchise, but start it based on the 1998 MLB season, you can go ahead, create all the rosters you want, or maybe be lucky enough to find somebody who uploaded the rosters for you to download, and then create every single team and rebrand their uniforms as they were back in the day and start your franchise that way. Now, with any team you create in MLB The Show for franchise mode, you can export them from the mode in order to have them for future use, so you don't have to spend the time recreating them should you want that team, but you want to start your franchise over because of a major trade or something, or whatever reason you may have. And unfortunately, there was no mention of realignment if you decide to change your team location to a different region. So if you, for say, take Seattle and decide to move them to the southeast, you're likely going to end up still in the AL West. Again, it's a foundation for the future, the first iteration, And the way they sounded is that there's a lot of big plans as the series moves forward, but for now it was getting it in place and getting it ready to build upon, especially with the PS5 and possibly the Xbox Series X receiving the game in the future. And lastly, with franchise mode, they talked about the new Major League Baseball rules that'll be making their way into franchise mode this year, and that includes the 26 and 28 man rosters, the 10 to 15 day injury list, the new 3-batter minimum rule that all relief pitchers have to deal with, two-way players, that means you can make a pitcher or potential two-way player after they hit a criteria, and the waiver trade period being removed after the trade deadline passes. Now with Road to the Show, the first thing they talked about were a bunch of new equipment changes, including 4 new equipment sponsors that included the likes of Jordan Brand. Russell noted that there are 58 either new or updated pieces of equipment this year, and 142 items total at launch, with 20 new ones coming post-launch. When it comes to bat skins, there's 50 day one, with 21 of them being brand new, and 25 bat skins coming post-launch, bringing the total up to 75. With audio chimes, there's 35 new ones, bringing the total to 91, and then there's 80 total bat slams that include over 30 brand new animations. Now when it comes to Road to the Show specifically, the big new feature are player relationships. For the first time, you can truly make friends with players, and it actually matters within the mode. But what does making friends with these players all mean? Well, the first big thing is that with your positive relationship with your teammates, you and your teammates will receive attribute boosts. Now this has nothing to do with other player relationships, so what a first baseman and a second baseman think about each other really doesn't matter. It's all about how your player affects others and how they affect you in return. These relationships also branch out by position, so a shortstop and a second baseman or a pitcher and catcher will have a much different relationship and have different boosts or any sort of effects, as opposed to a first baseman and a left fielder who don't really interact much on a field. What's more is that there's instant gratification now, as real-time bonuses are shown as the play unfolds on the diamond. So as your player at short or second fields a ball, you'll see what that bonus is as it's happening, and it'll impact your player as that play is being made. Now in order to get these bonuses, you obviously have to play. You can't go ahead and just sim the games and get the bonuses from them. That would kinda defeat the purpose of the whole mode in my opinion. Now there's also boosted at bats with MLB The Show 20, where depending on who's on base and where on base they are at a certain time, you can get a player boost at the plate. Friends on base in certain situations will lead to it, so if you have a friend in scoring position, you're going to see your player possibly get a boost at the plate. And vice versa, if you're on base, a friend can get a boost at a plate, especially if it comes to trying to knock you in or advance you from first to second or whatever it may be. Now in addition to the relationships, there's also talk about adding new pitches as a pitcher and how it's been made easier by just going into training. The boss battle challenges can now lead to item rewards in Road to the Show rather than just attribute or skill boosts. And dynamic challenges can now affect your personalities instead of just skill boosts as well. And lastly, for the mode itself, a small touch but a nice one nonetheless, is that once you make it to the majors, the presentation has been updated to allow more spirited commentary from the booth about your specific player and your situation, so it doesn't come off as sounding so generic anymore. So while the stream covered the full minor league rosters, the new updates in Road to the Show, and team customization franchise mode, that wasn't all they had for fans, as the team ended it with 2 new legend reveals for the game in John Olerud of the Toronto Blue Jays and legendary Baltimore Orioles second baseman Brian Roberts. Now everything was well and good for the most part with the stream, but that doesn't mean it was perfect, and it did let quite a few people down, including myself. And that's due to the lack of talk about franchise mode outside of the team customization and the new rules coming in. There's no mention of things like scouting within the mode, the CPU AI, schedules, or any other real actual feature additions to the mode. And based on the Twitch stream schedule, it doesn't really look like they plan to address those in a broadcast ahead of the game's launch. So maybe if we're lucky, we get at least a blog post from the team about some of the outstanding questions we have. If not, you can definitely bet that the fans concerned about the lack of love that franchise mode gets are going to be louder than ever before. Thanks for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, click on the next one to find out about other features coming to MLB The Show 20 when it launches on March 17th. And we want to give a big shout out to our SGO insiders for all of their support of the SGO network. If you want to learn more about becoming an insider, click on the icon on the screen or check out the link in the description below.